This line tracks the global economy. Amid inflation and geopolitical friction, international growth is drifting toward 3.0%. But India shows a distinct break from that trend. While the world cooled, India's growth accelerated from 7.1 to 7.6% in fiscal year 26. This momentum has propelled the country upward in global nominal GDP rankings. The International Monetary Fund expects this to continue, projecting 6.4% growth through fiscal year 27. These figures are the result of three specific areas of activity: a surge in high-value services, a state-led infrastructure push paired with new trade deals, and a massive internal consumer market. Understanding how these areas function individually reveals why India is now effectively decoupled from the broader global deceleration. The first driver is the services sector, which hit a growth rate of 9.1% in fiscal year 26. This chart breaks down the composition of the total economy. Services now claim 53.6% India's GDP, taking on the role of the primary growth engine. By 2024, India became the world's seventh-largest services exporter. Its share of global services trade more than doubled over 2 decades, reaching 4.3%. By specializing in digitally delivered and professional services, India has built a tradable buffer. This sector remains resilient even when physical trade slows, providing a constant stream of high-value revenue. The second area of focus is a top-down strategy to overhaul the country's physical connectivity using public capital. This spending totals roughly 12.2 lakh crore rupees, or 4.4% of GDP. The funds are concentrated on expanding national highways and modernized railways. Lowering logistics costs through these roads and rails is intended to make high-tech manufacturing more competitive for private investors. The physical infrastructure to move goods is then paired with a diplomatic push to open up new markets for those goods. This new trade framework with the United States reduces reciprocal tariffs on Indian exports from 25 to 18%. Similar agreements signed with Oman, New Zealand, and the European Union create a network of zero-duty access for Indian products. By building the highways to move products and the legal pathways to sell them, India is positioning itself as a central hub for global supply chains. The third area of strength is internal. Roughly 70% of India's economic activity comes from consumption and investment within its own borders. This means India is a domestic demand-driven economy. Growth is anchored by local consumers rather than being purely at the mercy of global export volatility. To maintain this spending, the government used cuts to the goods and services tax and adjustments to income tax to increase disposable income for both urban and rural households. This massive internal market acts as a fortress, sustaining growth even when international demand weakens. But looking beneath the headline GDP figures reveals a friction point in this model. It is struggling to absorb the country's vast labor force. Despite the boom in high-tech exports, 43% of the workforce remains in low-productivity agriculture. Another 56.2% of workers are self-employed, often in precarious roles with low wages and little security. The sectors responsible for the surging growth, services and advanced manufacturing, contribute significantly to GDP, but they absorb relatively little labor compared to their size. This has created a two-track economy, where macroeconomic indicators soar, while median wage growth stays low for the broader population. Funding those 12.2 lakh crore infrastructure projects also has a fiscal cost. The state relies heavily on indirect taxes, like the GST, to bridge the gap. These taxes are regressive. They place a larger relative burden on lower-income households, who spend nearly all their earnings on basic consumption. This has contributed to a sharp concentration of wealth. Currently, the top 1% of the population controls 40% of all national assets. At the same time, long-term innovation capacity is limited by low research and development spending, which remains at just 0.64% of GDP. India has successfully engineered a 7% growth number through services and state capital. The ultimate challenge now is ensuring that widening inequality doesn't eventually stall the domestic demand engine that makes that number possible.